Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official top 20 college football bowl season bold predictions. And guys, I might release a part 2 to this video next week depending, but I did want to get these out, and these might be a little bit more mainstream type predictions. Just the current vibe on some of these games. Unfortunately, guys, we do have the situation with a ton of opt-outs, so a lot of these games have really been impacted the wrong way with the opt-out situation, but let's get right into it. Fresno State, I have them winning against Washington State. Washington State will be without a few of their top receivers. Even honestly, if those guys played, I would pick Fresno State as 4-point underdogs to win this game outright. But since Washington State is going to be without two of their top receivers, the line has shifted, and now Fresno State is actually a 1-point favorite. They finished the season strong. We've discussed them at length before. We really like where they're at right now, and I think they win against a Washington State team who is depleted a little bit. Cincy versus Louisville is a sleep fest. So guys, this is the 11 a.m. game. The Fenway Bowl early in the bowl season. Cincinnati dealing with Ben Bryant. I believe he's out for the season. Their backup was really bad the last game of their season. And then Louisville dealing with the Malik Cunningham injury. He might not play. There's rumors that he may opt out depending on the situation surrounding his injury. So guys, all of those factors, both the quarterbacks possibly being out, Cincinnati being without their head coach, Luke Fickell leaving them. They're in the middle of a coaching search right now. It's going to be a sleep fest, in my opinion. It's going to be a lower scoring game. I like the under 44.5 in that one. UTSA beats Troy. The offense is the difference. So guys, this is an amazing game. It's the Cure Bowl. It is the second game of the bowl season, and it's just a situation where I am trusting UTSA. I'm trusting that offense. Frank Harris announces he's coming back for a 7th season next year. That's going to be a little bit of a motivator for the team to go out there and really have an amazing win. Whichever team wins this game, they're going to have a great... they would be 12-2. Both of these teams ranked according to the AP poll, and I also think according to the committee, both of them got in right at the end. So a really good game, and I just think UTSA's offense is significantly better than Troy's offense. Yes, Troy has a good defense, but I just feel like the offensive disparity where UTSA can generate big plays, multiple scoring drives, is a little bit too big for Troy to overcome. So this is basically a pick'em game. I think Troy is 1-point favorites. I think it's going to be a little higher scoring, which will suit UTSA better than Troy, and they end up winning. UConn is going to have a very hard time scoring. Yes, so UConn has an extremely tough matchup. They already have a really bad offense as it is. When you take a look at the advanced numbers, they are not explosive. They had a fun little season. They won a bunch of close games. But I think this matchup where they have to face Marshall and how good Marshall's been, especially their defense in the second half of the season, it is not a good setup at all. I could honestly see UConn scoring like 10 points. I just don't know how they will generate offense in this game. I have Marshall winning, and Marshall is 10-point favorites, so it's not surprising there. But UConn legitimately, they might score under 10. Next, we have the Air Force Baylor game. Guys, I think people are underrating this game. They look at it, they see Baylor 6.5-point favorites, and also Baylor really hasn't had that great of a year. I think a few different things. Number one, people don't realize how good of an offense Air Force actually is. They are very efficient on offense, even though they don't throw. Number two, Baylor is way better than their record according to any metric you look at. They've had a very hard schedule in the Big 12, a lot of parity in that conference, no easy games. They should have beaten TCU if we remember. Very easily could have won that game 28-26. And also, I think the spread is too big on this game. I really think Air Force is going to keep it close. They will cover the 6.5-point spread, and it turns into like a field goal game, maybe like 30-27 type that people didn't expect. Missouri beats Wake Forest, so Missouri opened this game as like 3.5, 4-point underdogs, and I had them winning, but now they're only 1-point underdogs. And I think the reason for the line change, it's not due to an opt-out. it's just due to Wake Forest having multiple deficiencies. They cannot run the ball and they cannot play defense. Missouri's been very inconsistent. They've had some really good games, some other games where their offense doesn't show up, but it's a situation where it just feels like in a bowl when one team has gaping holes like Wake Forest does with their running game and with their defense. Missouri could exploit that, and we did see Missouri win on Black Friday against Arkansas, so they have some momentum coming into this game, and I think they could win it outright. Georgia Southern hammers Buffalo, yes. So there's a few different factors at play. Right now, Georgia Southern trending at around 3.5-point favorites. Georgia Southern starting quarterback was at Buffalo last year. I think he hit the transfer portal, so there's going to be big motivation for him. Also, Buffalo had a horrible finish to the season. They barely beat Akron by 1 point in a comeback victory at home. Georgia Southern has a really good offense. They're going to score up into the 30s. I don't think Buffalo comes close to hanging with them. I could see something like 44-24 with Georgia Southern really using their explosive offense, taking advantage of a Buffalo team that's weak, and winning that game big. South Carolina beats an undermanned Notre Dame. So Notre Dame, I mean, there's opt-outs. They lost their star pass rusher. They lost their star tight end. Opting out. It's so sad. And it's just a situation where this spread opened Notre Dame -4. It's basically a pick-em. Notre Dame is 1-point favorites right now. South Carolina has a ton of momentum. I don't think anyone is opting out for South Carolina or entering the transfer portal. That's going to have a major impact on this game. So I think South Carolina will be fine in terms of any opt-outs. They have so much momentum. They beat Clemson. They beat Tennessee back-to-back weeks. Not in that order, but they beat both of them. And now they get a Notre Dame team that unfortunately doesn't have the offense, in my opinion, without Michael Mayer to really, it's going to be a close game, but South Carolina will get it done due to the opt-outs. UCF easily beats Duke. So I just think UCF, as long as everyone is healthy, including their starting quarterback, we're not expecting very many opt-outs. I think UCF wins this game fairly easily. Maybe I just keep underrating Duke. There seems to be like a mental block in my head where certain teams, I just don't think they're good, even though they prove me wrong week after week. And Duke is a team that was so horrible last year, like the worst Power 5 team, and now they're 8-4. But I don't know, guys. Like the spread on this game is, I don't know why people are throwing so much money onto Duke. I just think UCF is like, they're just better. Like Duke played in a watered down ACC. I'll tell you, the ACC is better than the American, but not by a ton. And UCF, the only reason they lost some of their games was due to an injured quarterback. And if he's back and he's healthy, they could have went 11-1 or 10-2, just my opinion. But I do think UCF wins that game. Next, we have UCLA winning. I think they trounce Pittsburgh. This is a typical DTR game, dual threat, 4 total touchdowns. Zach Charbonnet, although maybe Zach Charbonnet won't play. He might opt out. And then Pittsburgh dealing with the transfer to their starting quarterback. He hit the portal. They're depleted. They couldn't throw the ball anyways. They're going to get crushed, in my opinion, by Chip Kelly. In that one, the Ohio State-Georgia game combines for 75 total points. So the over-under in this game right now, I think 61.5. I think it goes way over. There's going to be a lot of points. If you look at Ohio State's last game versus Michigan, way over. Georgia's last game versus LSU, way over. This is a dome game. Ohio State's going to be throwing a ton. Georgia is able to generate efficient offense, and also Ohio State has major secondary concerns. So I think a lot of points are going to be scored in that one. Michigan controls TCU, boring game. Guys, this reminds me of the Alabama Washington Peach Bowl 1v4 matchup back in 2016 when it felt like Washington was just happy to be there with Jake Browning. That's what it feels like for TCU. Michigan, it felt like that last year, but now they mean business. They've been here before. They want more. They're favorites in this game. They're fundamentally sound. They're well coached. They will not fall in an upset to a TCU team that's just happy to be there. I think it's going to be boring. There's a reason they made this the 4 o'clock game and not the 8 o'clock game. This is how about the time zones on this one? It's a 1 o'clock local time start in Arizona, so nobody's going to really have any hype surrounding this game compared to the Peach Bowl, the 8 o'clock primetime window. I think it's boring. I think Michigan controls it and wins. Maybe it's close at half. I will say that. Ohio, Wyoming, very low scoring. So, guys, I would highly recommend taking the under in this game. Ohio University, without their starting quarterback, they cannot score. They scored 7 points in a dome against Toledo, and then Wyoming just never scores. And they always play low-scoring games no matter what. I'm seeing a big chance at that one ending under 40 total points there. Illinois is just better than Mississippi State. So, guys, I think Illinois... you can say what you want. Does Mississippi State have more talent? Yes, but in my opinion, it's marginal, and I think Illinois is more complete. And the one thing I'll say, I really underestimated Illinois' ability to throw the ball. They're not just a run-first, well, they are a run-first team, but they can throw a little bit with the transfer quarterback, I believe, from Syracuse. So Mississippi State, they can't run. They have holes everywhere. They've got a mediocre defense at best. Illinois is fundamentally sound. They play really good defense. They're 1-point favorites. I think they win that game fairly easily. The Rose Bowl is amazing again. What a great matchup. Penn State versus Utah. We saw last year Ohio State versus Utah. Really fun game. I think it's going to be really good. Maybe a little bit lower scoring, right, than that game last year. But, guys, Penn State, Utah, both finished the season extremely strong. Pretty much a top 10 matchup, although I think Penn State finished ranked 11th. They played really well towards the end of the season. That's going to be a fun game. I think Utah wins a close one. Next, we have Iowa, Kentucky. Yes, combining for 27 points. I'm just not seeing the score here from either of these teams. You've got a situation with Kentucky. Will Levis officially opts out. Again, I don't know how they're going to generate points. Both have really good defenses. Both can't score, especially Kentucky without Will Levis. You're looking at something like maybe, if you're lucky, like, 14-10, 14-13. That would be 27 points. The over-under at 31.5. I would steer clear of it. It's just too low of a number, but I do think the under's going to hit for what it's worth. Wisconsin surprises with a blowout win over Oklahoma State. It just feels like with the announcement that Braylon Allen, the superstar running back, is coming back. He's not entering the portal. Luke Fickell, Jim Leonhard coaching his last game. There's a lot of excitement around the Wisconsin program. There's a lot of momentum. That's going to lead them to a surprise blowout 31-7 victory over an Oklahoma State team who just lost their quarterback to the transfer portal, and their season has been in a tailspin for the past 5 weeks. I see Wisconsin riding the momentum, even with their quarterback in the portal. I know they've got no experience. It's going to be a lower scoring game, but I think they win. NC State beats Maryland with defense. I just think NC State is a more stable team than Maryland. Maryland, certainly the better offense. NC State on their 4th-string quarterback, but they've shown the ability to win with defense, and I think they do it against a Maryland team that has been better recently. Florida gets killed with opt-outs, so I don't know what it is with Florida. I mean, we saw it a few years ago in the Cotton Bowl against Oklahoma. I mean, Florida loses their starting quarterback, their best offensive lineman, their best defensive lineman this year, all to opt-outs, and now they're starting Jack Miller, the Ohio State transfer. So, guys, Florida sitting at 11.5-point underdogs against Oregon State. They're going to get crushed. It's so hard. They're starting a bunch of guys that never play. It is what it is. Alabama beats KSU with backups. So Alabama very likely going to be without Bryce Young, Will Anderson, but Alabama's backup quarterback, Jalen Milroe, did actually start a game against A&M. He can run. He's a dual threat. He also played against Arkansas and had a long touchdown run. Let's not overreact to this, guys. I know the situation with Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, they haven't been good at all, but it just feels like a lot of people are doubting Nick Saban, Alabama's ability to really get up for this game. They're going to surprise some people and beat a Kansas State team that's fundamentally sound, but still, even with Alabama starting their backups, Alabama's significantly more talented than them, and I think they get the job done and win. They are 3.5-point favorites right now, but I do think once it's officially announced that Bryce Young and Will Anderson and some others are probably going to be opting out for this game, I believe the line's probably going to go down to like 2, just with the public momentum, the official word on it. So it'll be interesting either way, guys, but those are my top 20 bold predictions for bowl season. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.